everyone, it's Bretta Riches from RunPerfect.com, and today I'm going to discuss in detail why your hamstrings may hurt from forefoot running. In forefoot running, hamstring pain is a little uncommon unless you're doing some serious heel training, which would overengage all of your leg muscles. But aside from that, if you have sudden hamstring soreness from forefoot running, especially in your early stages of learning forefoot running or barefoot running or minimalist running, hamstring soreness in forefoot running is more symptomatic of over pulling of the foot. If you follow pose running and apply pose running to correct your heel strike running style, you will know that pose running places big emphasis on rapidly pulling up the foot rather than reaching out with your foot when you run. By pulling your feet up underneath your hips, you end up getting a lighter exchange with your foot with the ground, but you also get the hamstrings more engaged. According to Dr. Romanoff of Pose Running, the rapid pulling or removal of the foot off the ground requires rapid firing of the hamstrings. So when you run while making the conscious effort to enforce a rapid pulling of the foot to give yourself that higher back kick, this mechanical approach is a whole different experience for the hamstrings. And I know this firsthand because I do follow some pieces of advice from Pose Running. Pulling of the foot is one of them. So the basic conclusion is that one of the main causes of hamstring tightness or soreness or tenderness from forefoot running could be attributed to the fact that you are mechanically giving your hamstrings more attention because you're executing a higher back kick than if you were heel striking during running. Kicking your feet up higher, like most barefoot runners, ramps up the mechanical engagement of hamstrings, and hamstrings undergo temporary physical vulnerability. The second possible cause of hamstring pain from forefoot running is leaning too far forward or overleaning. Again, if you follow Pose Running recommends leaning forward from the ankles, but many are unsure as to how much lean is appropriate and what's the right amount of forward lean needed to give you the best mechanical efficiency. Not only that, Pose Running states that since the forward lean is the gas pedal in running, you should therefore lean forward more to increase your running velocity. But again, many runners really fall into the trap of overleaning when they run. A study published in the Journal of Sports Sciences, which I'll link the study below if you're interested, the study found that overleaning of the upper body during faster running velocities stretched all three groups of the hamstring muscles at touchdown and during the stance phase of running. More specifically, the researchers noted that during the stance phase of running, this is the phase of running in which loading is often high on the hamstrings, whereby the hamstrings are naturally more activated during the stance phase of running. But if you overlean too much during running, the mechanical loading seems to be multiplied on the hamstrings along with the hamstring muscle activation during the stance phase of running, which collectively, according to the study, may impose higher strain rates on the hamstrings, increases cumulative strain, especially if you're running longer distances. It's going to be very distressing on the hamstrings if you implement a forward lean that is too far forward. Another finding from the study was that overleaning too far forward during running may lengthen the hamstrings beyond a tolerable limit, and the biarticular hamstring muscles reached peak strain at a faster, more rapid rate as well as a consequence of overleaning with the torso at faster running speeds. Therefore, overleaning may certainly be a trouble spot when learning pose running or forefoot running or barefoot running or minimalist running, all of which require some degree of a forward lean. But how to solve the problem of finding the right degree of forward lean so that you don't overlean. I think that your head position is one of the pillars that aids in leaning forward or helps guide the torso more forward. For example, if you observe many of the East African distance runners run, many of these runners tend to have a dropped chin and dropped eye gaze. Many of these runners don't really run with their chin up and their eye gaze bolted straight ahead, which may actually influence a posture that is too upright. But rather, these runners kind of run almost with their head down to a certain extent. If you watch Teranish Dababa or Hailey Gebrselassie or Kennedy Sibikili run, you'll see what I mean. This is why I think having a more dropped eye gaze coupled with a dropped chin during forefoot running can help solve the problem of leaning too far forward rather than thinking too much of falling forward when you run. I think you'll have a better chance of finding your sweet spot when you are forefoot running. If you watch and mimic how the East African distance runners run that I just mentioned, and if you mimic or mirror their head and eye gaze position during running, and see if you can get out there and cover as much ground as possible with greater ease. But of course, in my opinion, you're at your mechanical best when you run barefoot because of overacting sensory signals that flood the feet, which is a potent external trigger that puts you in good conscience. And from that, you're less likely to misapply your upper body posture when you run barefoot versus when you run in thickly cushioned running shoes. Sometimes when we run in traditional running shoes, our mechanics may get so out of control that forefoot running becomes useless from an injury prevention perspective. So this is how barefoot running might logically guard against mechanical mishaps, because the sensory feedback on the barefoot can be harnessed into a more clear thought process and awareness that can be consolidated into something that's effective in terms of a more stable, sturdy postural control. This is why I think trying barefoot running is a necessary first step, because good mechanics really stems from the foot's ability to streamline sensory feedback and use this sensory feedback as a more practical assistance to keep the body exceptionally well positioned in a way that centralizes good balance control and converts to less impact when you run. For more information about forefoot running versus heel strike running, please visit my blog, runforfoot.com. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay updated on all the latest research regarding the health benefits of barefoot running and minimalist running. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Have fun out there on the road. Bye for now.